Hey y'all, Uncle Jimmy here. When you speak for yourself, you're forced to think for yourself. And when you think for yourself, the sports world looks different. In order to enjoy this podcast and this show, you need to have the courage to look at the world from alternative points of view and not be offended when you disagree. Speak for yourself isn't your Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram feed. SFY tells you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. So, welcome aboard, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
We'll start in New Orleans. Here's what we know definitively about Saints quarterback Drew Brees. As a leader and competitor, he's on the same level as Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. As an icon and role model for the NFL, Brees is on the same level as Walter Payton and Roger Staubach. As a leader, competitor, icon, and role model, Drew Brees is as good as anyone who has ever played the game. As a quarterback, I'm not so sure. How should we view the New Orleans legend? It's going to be 20 or 30 years before we can accurately assess the level of Drew Brees' greatness. Last night, in a nationally televised 34-7 romp over the Indianapolis Colts, Brees passed Manning as the league's all-time leader in touchdown passes, and he set a single game record for the highest completion percentage. When Brees retires, his numbers will say he's in the conversation as one of the 5 best quarterbacks to ever play the game. I will object to that conversation. The game's rule changes over the last 20 years have favored the quarterback. The position is less dangerous and far easier to play than when Staubach, Bart Starr, Johnny Unitas, and Joe Montana and Dan Marino played. Is Brees as good as Marino? I don't think so. Is Brees on the same level as Brett Favre? Not in my opinion. If Troy Aikman played in today's NFL, how different would his passing stats look? Last night, Brees completed 29 of 30 passes, which is 96.7%. The percentage broke Phillip Rivers' record of 96.6%. Rivers set the record last season. Brees is 40 years old. Rivers was 37 in 2018. Why are old, past their prime quarterbacks setting single-game records? The degree of difficulty is being decreased for NFL quarterbacks. I heard Troy Aikman say on a game telecast in the past 2 weeks that quarterbacks can throw into windows that you just couldn't during his playing days. The receivers would be separated from the ball by a linebacker or a defensive back's helmet. The NFL illegalized defenders leading with their helmets. The penalty for catching the ball over the middle or in heavy traffic has been severely reduced. So has the price for holding the ball too long in the pocket. Former Giants quarterback Phil Simms was the king of absorbing the delivery sack while still throwing the ball accurately downfield. Delivery sacks against superstar quarterbacks now often come with a 15-yard roughing the passer penalty. Let me be clear, I love Drew Brees. He's the NFL's modern-day Walter Payton. Brees is the NFL's Man of the Year every year. He's a first-ballot Hall of Famer. But is Brees one of the 5 best quarterbacks to ever play? No. Is he in the top 10? Maybe. But give me these 9 first: Brady, Elway, Montana, Unitas, Young, Marino, Staubach, Manning, and Favre. Brees is in a battle with Starr, Tarkington, Bradshaw, Rodgers, and Kelly for the last spot. Rule changes have allowed old quarterbacks to pad their stats. 20 years ago, a 40-year-old Drew Brees would have been in the broadcast booth last night rather than on the field setting records. All right, joining the desk now are Fox Sports NFL analyst LeVar Arrington and former NFL offensive lineman Jeff Schwartz. Marcellus, get us rolling.
Yeah.
Is Drew Brees, without question, a top 10 quarterback?
Absolutely, without question, top 10. I mean, what else does he have to do for someone to go out there and not give him the proper validation of a top 10 quarterback when he's number one in some major statistical categories? I understand the inflation of the numbers, but other greats have played in this era as well and have benefited from that same inflation. So when you have the touchdown record, passing yards record, completion percentage record, forfeit wins, and a Super Bowl win with a Super Bowl MVP, I mean, doesn't that kind of take us to a place where how many other guys even have that resume, let alone has been a leader of the organization, and as you said, other attributes, character, off the field, leadership, et cetera. All those things considered, my former teammate and the man who I was in his wedding, that's right, we were that cool, that's my dog, Drew Brees, respect for him.
I'm glad you added that.
You know I had to cover it all.
Now I hear it.
Right, top 10, easily, no question.
Yeah, he is in the top 10 discussion. I think there's so many fine quarterbacks that have played during the course of time in this great game that he's in the discussion, and I think that makes a ton of sense. We're throwing out Super Bowl appearances, Super Bowl wins, MVPs. Well, Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowls and a Super Bowl MVP as a starting quarterback for the New York Giants.
2 Super Bowl MVP.
Right. Right.
Oh, he got the touchdown record too, right?
Are we?
Oh, he doesn't. Passing yards, no?
Are we putting him? Are we putting him in that top 10 category?
Hell
For
no.
obvious reasons.
So you went to the crazy
Again,
land.
well, so what I'm saying is,
Right.
some of these guys we're basing their greatness off of certain things like Super Bowls and different things like that. Like Tom Brady, I'm basing Tom Brady being the GOAT off of how many times he has won the Super Bowl, not necessarily based off of how well he has played as a quarterback. I think Jim Kelly should certainly be in the top 10 conversation as a quarterback. But he didn't win those big games, and I feel as though we judge a guy like Jim Kelly by his losses in the Super Bowl versus his wins if he would have got those. So to me, I look at Drew Brees, his body of work, what he has represented, not only as a player, but you want to talk about a human, somebody who has done it the right way as a human. I look at all of that value he brings to the table, and he has to be in that conversation.
LeVar, let me congratulate you on moving the goalpost.
Thank you.
Because the question was, is Drew Brees without question?
He's without question.
He's in the discussion.
Yeah, you
right.
did.
And I think that when you're in the discussion, that's without question. You are absolutely without question
Really?
in the top 10.
I thought that meant you're on the fence.
No.
Bubble.
The discussion is, where do you put him in the top 10?
Oh, okay.
So let me clarify.
All right.
Where do you put him in that top 10 is up for debate. Is he in the top 10? I certainly believe so.
I believe he's in the top 10, but I think when you get to this point where we're discussing all these different quarterbacks, you do have to look at how you play in the playoffs, how you play in clutch moments. Are you the best player at your position in any given year? Drew Brees has only been first-team All-Pro one time. He has not won the MVP at all. Last year was his best chance, and Pat Mahomes had a record-setting year. So when you look at the list of quarterbacks, do I think he's more talented and better, maybe he played better than Dan Marino? Maybe. Dan Marino was great, I get that. But
don't let him get you.
Do you understand?
Don't take that.
Dan Marino.
Do you understand the efficiency he's playing with right now?
Yeah.
The efficiency.
Yeah.
He's completing passes at a higher rate than any quarterback in history of the NFL.
Say it.
And I know it's easier.
If Dan Marino could have thrown Mark Clayton into linebackers,
but we don't know that. But we don't know that.
Yeah, let's address that. Let's address that.
I think we talk about this. We can project out. We can't project out. I agree with you that it's a different era, and that's why we. But you cannot say definitively that someone would have done this and that. I agree with you. In different era, maybe Dan Marino, Troy, all these guys would be different.
But
we're taking him as he is now in this era, and in this era, he's the most efficient quarterback for many years now.
You have
10, 12, 15 years.
You have to adapt, and you have to adjust to the given circumstances and environment that you are called to perform in. Listen, people ask, could Jim Brown, there's only a few that I would sit there and say, from era to era, they could do what they're doing when they did it in the era that they did. I love Deacon Jones to death. God rest his soul. Head slap, coined the phrase sack. Could Deacon Jones be the defensive end in today's NFL that he was in the NFL he was in? And I would say no. There are a lot of players. Would Jim Brown be able to be Jim Brown? This might offend a lot of people.
Get him.
Jim Brown
Brown
would not be Jim Brown in today's NFL. He would not be able to do the things he did in the NFL he played in. The game has evolved. The game grows, and it goes down different areas, technology. There's so many, the specializing of skill. It is not the same NFL. So you have to be able to accomplish on a whole nother level than what you would have in days where they didn't have helmets with face masks.
This is amazing.
But it doesn't diminish what Dan Marino did or what Jim Brown did.
It doesn't.
But when you look at I just think the longevity of how long he's done this at the high level he has without having a defense. Dude,
I know I'm the old man up here, but my God, there are other old men that played this game watching this show right now, and they know damn well that if these rules were intact, Dick Buckets might still be playing right now.
You know what's funny though?
Dick Buckets wouldn't be Dick Buckets.
If the athletes were intact in those days, instead of looking like postal employees who they were teammates with, then guess what? They wouldn't have those same numbers. I'm always disrespectful to older eras because of the typical athlete today is greater than he was yesterday. So you have to take that in consideration. Look at anything, the rushing attacks of teams right now. What's getting diminished? The running back. And you're going to sit there and say, Oh, well, I wonder why. You know why? Because that position is being asked to do different things. If you look at what we're seeing now from the quarterback, they're being asked to do different things, and it's a seesaw effect.
But I just want to be clear here. If Jim Brown's birth date was 1987 instead of whatever it was, 1947,
yeah.
he would be a beast in this league.
Your guess?
I
tell you why. I'll give you the one that's the most objective. Here's the most objective. Jesse Owens. We all know who Jesse Owens is.
Yeah.
In terms of greatness and gold medals.
Usain Bolt would have ran away from him back.
No, I'm not even going to go Usain Bolt. Jesse Owens would have struggled to win the California High School State Championship in the 100. By time.
But I know you're acting, I get that.
Today.
But you're acting like he wouldn't have access to all the training that we have now. The diet.
Yeah,
that's a great point. That is a great point.
But again, all these
don't have
guys
access to that DNA?
Well, I think his DNA speaks for itself, that it was tremendous.
Right.
Again, now you plant him in this technological era with all the advancements we have, and I think Jesse Owens holds his own against anybody. So you saying
that these guys are from a laboratory?
But it's still being based upon the bodies of work, right? If I look at Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders has the ability, the skill set to actually be Barry Sanders in whatever era he plays in.
Yeah.
How many players can you really sit there and can you say that?
Here, you've really stunned me.
I'm sorry.
I do get emotional about Jim Brown. That's my guy. And I can't believe we're having a conversation about Drew Brees and Jim Brown has been slandered. Dan Marino has been slandered. This is
You slandered
lunacy.
Jim Kelly. You didn't even have Jim Kelly in
I did not slander. He was he's in the debate.
No, he's not.
Top 10.
For top
Y'all are
10?
slandering these people.
I don't think I'm slandering.
And it's like Dan Marino.
He's
I'm going to
amazing.
tell you what happened to these guys.
Your
Joe
hands are
Montana.
shaking right now.
I know. I've never seen this look. It was
Take a
awesome.
breath.
I'm just saying, these
your hands.
people, Dan Marino would throw balls, and it was legal for the safety to leave with his helmet and separate the receiver from the ball. And so all I'm saying is, like, some of these catches today would be incompletions because the safeties and the linebackers and the DBs would separate them from the ball. There's no penalty, really, for going over the middle. We got to respect some of these older people that did it in the era when football was a little bit more physically taxing, and we just can't, they put up these fantasy.
But now you're rewriting it because now you can take an average player that was willing, a Don Beebe, who was willing to catch the ball, get flipped over, land on his head.
Get in this conversation?
But if we're defining greatness by what the rules are allowing for, and now guys don't have to deal with quarterbacks, receivers. They don't have to deal with the parameters that or lack thereof in earlier days. Then I would look at it.
There's nothing wrong with a nuanced conversation.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with having with being able to say, you know what, the rule changes have impact. It's no different than James Harden putting up 40 points a game right now in the NBA under these new rules and all that's going on, the extra possessions.
It's the freedom
and blah,
to
blah, blah.
shoot.
Is he as great a scorer as Michael Jordan? No. Now, people can have the conversation, he's a better scorer than Michael Jordan. And I'll think you're crazy. Just the way I think you're crazy for slandering Jim Brown here on this show.
Well,
that's crazy.
Well, you got to look at the situation like, look, there was a Jordan effect where people were minimized because they couldn't live up to the resume of Michael Jordan. And some of that is affected Dan Marino and Jim Kelly because you couldn't live up to what Joe Montana was doing in the same era if you want to stay within era. But if you look at it in totality, it's happening with Drew Brees. Drew Brees in this era doesn't have the team success of a Tom Brady and others. But what he does have are numbers, kind of like how Karl Malone must feel living in the Jordan era. Like, look, don't forget about me. Right. Drew Brees is in that same realm.
Look, I'll go here with you on Drew Brees. If they do what I think they're going to play in the Super Bowl, and I think they're a hell of a threat to Baltimore.
Yeah.
He gets his second Super Bowl, I'm going to elevate him up in my top 10.
He's in top 10.
But just based on these inflated numbers that everybody's putting up, look, I love Michael Thomas, but he ain't Jerry Rice. And he's about to set a whole bunch of records in this new fantasy football league that we're playing. And I love it. But let's don't kid ourselves that he's Jerry Rice.
You know what's so funny about these conversations? Because they're subjective, we just sit here and lose our voice. But when we have actual metrics, actual objective conversations, track and field is one, where you could just look at numbers, that inflation you have to fully respect. Of our top 10, I think we have 6 or 7 guys from the previous era, if not BC era in terms of Unitas and Staubach. But there's still a Montana, there's still a Elway, a Marino, a Young who didn't have the inflation that we fully respect. But not everybody gets brought in with that overflow. Some of them have to stay behind.
I think the era represents a lot of how we should judge. You should judge them by their greatness based off of era. And the reason why I say that is because when you get into the discussions of a James Harden versus a Michael Jordan, or we're talking about a Drew Brees versus a Joe Montana, you have to look at it from the standpoint of the blueprint was written by Michael Jordan. You have more players now who train specifically to be able to develop their skills to do the things that Michael Jordan has done. There were far and few less players capable of doing the things that Michael Jordan did than you do now.
Gotcha.
And they do not show that way.
Talk football.
True.
Because here's, and I'm sorry for bringing in Jordan into this.
Yeah.
You'll probably slander him, and you probably just did, and I just blocked it out. Here's what I'm saying.
All right.
Here it is.
Dominance in your era.
Yes.
Okay.
And so when I start rattling off the names, Tom Brady, he's won a couple of MVPs.
Mm-hmm.
John Elway, I think he was MVP. Joe Montana, he was MVP. Johnny, MVP. Steve Young, MVP. Dan Marino, MVP. Roger Staubach, MVP. Peyton Manning, Brett Favre.
Eli Manning.
No. He ain't in the conversation.
But he's got everything they got. He has everything they have.
I'm talking about
Got more than some of them.
They got in-season
Oh, you're saying for the
MVP.
season. Okay. I thought you meant MVP.
I'm with you.
Everybody followed it except for you, LeVar.
Okay.
MVP.
Go Penn State, we are.
Drew Brees
Was he an MVP?
has
Yes or no?
Drew Brees
Eli Manning.
has no
Super Bowl.
MVP.
Super Bowl MVP.
Super Bowl.
He hasn't been as dominant in his era
That's not
as
right.
these other guys.
Marino never won an
That's the
MVP.
Jordan effect. Like, you can't.
Dan Marino never won MVP.
No. I was about to say he never won a Super Bowl. He never won it. Don't take my. I almost misspoke. He never won a Super Bowl and only went twice, or only went once, and that was in the second year of his
fault.
Oh,
my God. That's why I go to barbershop.
I love these
That's why I
arguments.
don't go.
I love these arguments because we all pick and choose which is our favorite stat to use to make sure that we like this guy or don't like this guy. I think it's dealer's choice. I think that if you like someone from a certain era, it's fine. If you don't, I mean, look, I think we're pretty much solid on the top 5 guys or 6 guys. Right? I think from 6 to like 20 is when it's just dealer's choice. It's whoever likes someone because they do this or that, or you value Super Bowl MVPs, you don't. I think that so if Brees were to win this year, win a Super Bowl, you just put him above 4 guys because of a Super Bowl win this year? Like, I just think it just depends.
And what if he goes out there and throws for 190 yards? He's like, but you move up in the top 10.
Roger Staubach was never MVP of the league.
What if you get a league MVP and you never won a Super Bowl?
Well, I don't care. All I'm talking about, were you dominant in your era? So dominant that you were the MVP of your league.
So
that says something in that. I'm not saying he wasn't dominant, but was he as dominant as these other all-time greats where they were clearly the best quarterbacks of their era at that time? It's never happened for Drew Brees.
Drew Brees is clearly the best of his era.
Aren't you a fan of Isaiah Thomas in basketball?
Absolutely.
You love that dude. That's your boy Zeke, right?
Yes.
Never won an MVP. You trying to say that Zeke ain't up there?
He's not in the top 10, no.
No, he's not. Obviously, he's not even going to get fully respected because he never won an MVP and he played in the Jordan era. So that's the point. We're not going to fully respect those guys.
You know what? I love that point.
I brought it up because I knew you would love it.
I do. I love that point. And that's who Drew Brees is, Isaiah Thomas.
No,
he's not.
He's more than that.
No, he's not.
He's more than that.
Now y'all disgracing Isaiah Thomas. The man just won 2 championships in the Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, and Magic era. He beat them all, and he was undersized. And he put together a team and a culture.
You're screaming at me.
Yes, he had the most points.
This conversation.
Did he have the most points all time? Most assists?
No.
Well,
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees does.
Oh, Drew Brees. I got it.
Drew Brees top 10.
The stats are inflated.
Drew Brees top 10 quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
Jim Brown, Dan Marino.
No conversation.
These guys are idiots. Whitlock and Wiley, LeVar Arrington's back. Joining us now. It's Fox Sports NFL analyst, future Hall of Famer James Harrison. Time now for a big story. Let's go to Dallas. The Cowboys are coming off an impressive 44-21 win over the Rams. The victory snaps a 3-game losing streak and gives life to head coach Jason Garrett, who some reports say will lose his job if he doesn't win a Super Bowl. After the win, Garrett's players gave him a ton of credit for a motivational pregame speech.
Coach Garrett gave an unbelievable speech talking about, hey, we need to pick each other up. When one side is doing well or not doing well, the other side's got to step up. It's one of the best speeches I've ever heard from him, and he was great. And I think we all kind of rallied around that. And really, I think that we took that motto.
He gave us a story about him playing baseball and just about what it means to be a team, and about I got your back. And no matter what happens, I got you, I'll pick you up.
All right, is Jason Garrett getting too much credit for his pregame speech and the win?
Not at all. You got to give him credit. It's coming out of the player's mouth in terms of what got them inspirationally moved to go out there and play with that type of energy and execution. We saw the mob move, and we know who's the leader of this mob, and it's Jason Garrett. You got to remember that the 2 highest scoring games for the Cowboys this year have come off of headlines of inspirational messages that came from Jason Garrett. You could say that's just coincidence. I see the correlation in that. So we give credit all the time in the media to teams that give bulletin board material midweek, and they put it on some billboard in the locker room, and everybody's, oh, that's why I'm going to play well. Well, then how about when coach just grabs the guys and talks to them directly on the Saturday night meeting, let them sleep on it, and the next day they wake up ready to roar? I give Jason Garrett that credit.
I don't take that. I think that it's definitely blown out of proportion. Shouldn't get any credit.
You know, how you gonna get a man any credit?
No, he doesn't get any credit. You know why? Because as a
you don't like him.
As a father, I do not seek credit for giving my children what I need to give them. I do not need a pat on the back for being a good dad. I do not need credit for saying the things that I need to say to make sure that they're prepared to go out and face it.
You ever trade your kids? You ever cut your kids? It's not the same situation.
But it is in the sense that they are on his watch while he is the head coach of that team. They're just like your kids. Yes.
Every Saturday morning this football season,
okay,
I got a text from you. We got a text.
I'm about to say we are.
Taking credit for your high school football team's success.
We got receipts. We got receipts up here.
What all you did. Come on now, give Jason credit.
I'll take credit for wins and losses as the coach. I do not look for that credit. I did not text you guys, hey, can y'all give me a little credit about how we...
Why you wanted us to know then?
No.
I didn't need to know that on Saturday morning.
Y'all asked me how we did.
No, we don't.
And to that point.
No, we don't.
And to that point, I gave an amazing pregame speech in our first round of the playoffs. Amazing.
Hey, I'm going to jump there with you. I think he's getting too much credit.
Thank you, James.
For the actual speech itself.
Thank you.
Because that's not what won them the game. Their actions won them the game. True statement, what he said did inspire them. Yes. So
I don't have a problem with him.
I'm just messing with you. So he did get... His speech does get credit because it inspired them to go out there and play the way that they played.
Okay.
True statement, they still got to go out there and perform, and he did something that he should have been doing all season.
I'll give
Run
his pregame
the ball. They went out there, they played
make a very valid
football. They dominated a man. It's man on man. They moved men and ran the ball.
What did you just say?
They do. They stopped letting Dak pass 30, 40 times a game. Best thing that happened is he messed up his finger, and that's probably why he wasn't passing too much, and they started going ahead and running the ball.
The question is Jason Garrett getting too much credit?
No, he's not getting too much credit.
His pregame speech deserves all the credit.
He said,
I'm not giving Jason
and for the win.
Let me make the argument for you, LeVar.
Yes, please.
Because he is getting too much credit.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why.
Bill Cosby.
Too much credit.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Because he ain't doing nothing but what he's supposed to do. This is somebody sitting there, I take care of my kids.
You're supposed to.
That's what I just said. When you play for Marty Schottenheimer, does he not have a speech every week?
And a tear with it.
And a tear with it. You ready to play?
Yes.
And that's what you got to understand. They said he has gave the best speech that we ever heard.
And you know why they talking about it? Because players didn't come out every week. Oh, man, Marty gave a great speech. Because that's what he did every week. The reason why the Cowboys are talking about it is like, Jason Garrett finally gave a good speech.
Oh, that's messed up how you going to flip that on him.
He finally gave Marty. He gave a great speech. The coach don't need to be there to inspire you. Other players, your leaders on your team should inspire you and give you your speeches. You got guys that go out there and get a prayer. You know you got your prayer guy. Your prayer guy go give you a great prayer and you go. Your prayer guy and your hype guy can't be the same person because you can't go pray and then the next thing is, let's get out here and beep, 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 beep.
How about this? It turns into white noise if it's always the same, even if it's high level. Look, Marty used to give us great emotional speeches with the tear, and it turns into white noise at a certain point.
Not for me. 14 and 2.
But you
got 14 and 2.
Oh, I love it.
Give me all that noise.
Oh, yeah, but give me the playoffs, too.
Well,
So here's the thing. You also got to fully respect that sometimes things are exceptional, better than norm, even if they're at a high bar.
And when you've set the bar as low as Jason Garrett,
No.
right. He told a baseball story.
Yeah.
And that got us fired up to play. That speaks to how weak this dude has
None
been.
of us up here are qualified to talk about the emotional context of that speech. You know why? Because it got their thoughts going, got their actions going, and that was the result of a great game.
That's
None
an
of us can do
indictment
that.
on the coach, and it's an indictment on their team. It's an indictment on their coach, and it's an indictment on their team.
To say coach did a great speech.
They have underperformed. So where was this speech when they were underperforming all those weeks ago?
Hold on.
When we're having the conversation, he has to win a Super Bowl or he's not going to be the coach next year. Where are all these speeches at? How many they lose? 3 in a row?
Wait a minute. And if you want to talk about underperforming, this is a guy that if they win this week, will win 4 of the 6 divisional titles since he's been there.
That's a terrible division.
Okay, hold on. You know what? New England's a terrible division as well. New England's a terrible division as well.
They ain't winning 8-8.
What's the first stepping stone?
They beating everybody else outside their division,
What's
too.
the first stepping stone when you get in there in terms of
Make the playoffs. It don't matter.
And how do you qualify to get there?
Marcellus is like bragging like, man, I'm the smallest host on this show.
Hey, wait, hold on now. He's bigger than
I'm bigger than him.
You ain't a host. I'm talking about me and him.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
Come on.
Hey, right.
Come on now.
That was a trick.
Jason Whitlock and
He looked at both of us like as if we were.
I know. I understand.
He's doing trick stuff. He's doing trickery
What I'm
today.
saying is, Jason Garrett hasn't done anything, man, that a head coach isn't supposed to do. And it's great that he gave a good
Top
speech.
10 in wins.
You're not giving him credit for nothing, though.
Top 10 in wins.
Give him another good speech next week. Look, man, college coaches, Nick Saban gets his players in the right state of mind with little story. You know what a great coach does?
College.
I get it, but I'm just what a great coach does at any level, pee-wee, high school, college, pro. They figure out a clever way
to get them
going. To say the same thing over and over and over again.
After so long, it becomes white noise. You listen to the same person. You can read through it.
They all got the same message, though. And they just figure out a way creative way to always come back to the same point about picking each other up, having each other's back, playing for each other, blah, blah. Hey, Jason Garrett finally gave a good speech. Congratulations.
Was that not clever, though? Talking about baseball, bringing it, hitting them from this side
Payton,
when you look
Bill
at this way.
Belichick, all the great coaches do this every Sunday, and that's why their teams can play at a consistently high level, and that's why he can't do it, and that's why his team is inconsistent.
But you got to realize a great head coach, he'll put those people, those coaches, and those players in those positions to have to do that. If he can't do that, to be that vocal person in the locker room, to give that speech before the pregame, to give that speech or that talk to the players after the Sunday or after the Saturday night meetings.
Well, here's what I want to know. Were you the prayer guy or the hype guy?
I was neither one. I was the guy that if I started talking, it was a problem at halftime, and we was going to go ahead and get it fixed.
Did you see the way he looked at you? Let's go to break.
James Harrison and Jeff Schwartz are back. Let's go to New England, where the Patriots brushed aside the distractions of Spygate 2.0 and crushed the lowly Bengals on Sunday. Despite the win, a few former Patriots had their doubts about New England's offense, with Tom Brady's former backup, Matt Castle, pointing out the passing game continues to struggle, and former linebacker Ted Johnson adding, quote, this team with this offense is not going to go far in the playoffs. When you stack the Patriots up with the 2 other top seeds in the AFC, New England is clearly inferior to the Ravens and the Chiefs in just about every offensive category. All right, the question here is, will the Patriots offense cost them in the playoffs?
Nope, not at all. One, we already know how this team rolls as a collective unit, as a balled fist. They're going to find ways to score, as we saw even in that Cincinnati game this week. And you talk about that game, people forget that the Patriots are 8th in scoring offense, ahead of 5 playoff teams right now, and only half a point behind the Saints. So when you think of the Patriots, do you think of the Saints offense? No, but the results show you that it's close, if not comparable, to that same team. So now let's look at what we saw out of Tom Brady, because that's where all these comments came from. It didn't look like the offense is going to fix itself in time. Oh, Tom Brady, man, we've never seen him look like this late in the season. Lies, lies, lies. Let's talk about this game. We saw him have the same exact game or worse last year against the Buffalo Bills in December. You know how that was? A win for him and a Super Bowl championship. It happened in 2014 and it happened in 2016. Same game, if not worse, in December football, Tom Brady, and they win a Super Bowl in each one of those years. That's why Tom Brady has made comments of late. I've been through this fire. My team hasn't been through this fire. He has a collective calm about himself because he knows what it's going to take, even if he hits some low points in the season. Tom Brady in this offense will be fine when it matters.
I think it's going to cost them. I really do, because it's not just, they're going to be fine. They're actually he's getting the ball into receivers' hands when he can. You know what I'm saying? So when they actually do protect and they actually give him enough time to get the ball to them, they're actually dropping a lot of passes now. It's times in the fourth quarter where I'm looking at Edelman and I'm like, he looks like he's spent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
he just looks tired. He looks spent. So if they run into a offense that actually can score and go out there and put up more points and still be able to keep them to a minimum and get pressure on time, the offense is what's going to cost them in the playoffs. It's not going to be the defense.
I agree 100%. Now, it might not cost them. They're the Patriots and should be never count out in the playoffs. But remember last year, their pass game was not kind of the base of their offense in the playoffs. It was the offensive line running the football and Gronkowski, who they do not have. They do not have that number one guy on 3rd and 10. Hey, go catch the football for us. Edelman is not a number one wide receiver. He's being doubled right now, and the other guys, to your point, aren't catching the football. So it could be as simple as, hey, if we just catch the football, we'll be fine. But also they have injuries on the offensive line that have hurt them. The Chiefs took advantage of a backup center. We're a third-string center. They have these little pieces here and there that aren't doing their job, and it comes together in the playoffs in a bad way. But if their defense plays well and sets them up with good, they can win with their offense. But in a shootout, they're not scoring. Right. Are they scoring 28 points on the Chiefs or the Ravens?
Well, look, last year, don't forget that Gronk was a shell of himself and turned into just a blocker.
They're not in the playoffs.
There are critical moments where he shows up, but still Gronk, in part, why he retired.
Yeah, but they don't have a
weapon. You had to prepare for that.
I was in Arrowhead watching them on 3rd and 10 in overtime. Repeatedly throw to Gronk. In the Super Bowl, they need a play. They throw the ball to Gronk to get down into the red zone. They don't have that guy. Hey, go just someone make a play for us. They don't have that dude right now. That's the problem.
The reason why I think it's going to cost them is because I don't think they have a good matchup in the postseason. To me, they'd be best off being the 3 seed if they want to win the game in the postseason. Now, obviously, it'd be best to get a bye, but let's say they're the 3 seed and somehow they get to face Pittsburgh. That, to me, is their best shot at winning, but it's a terrible matchup because T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree are going to eat Tom Brady and that offensive line alive, and they're going to have the defense, Stephon Gilmore, somebody's going to have to score a touchdown, they're going to have to block a punt, do something. But if Tennessee is in that 6th spot and they're the 3, I think Ryan Tannehill, Tennessee, Derrick Henry, I think they eat up the Patriots. I just don't think they have a good matchup against the Ravens and the Chiefs. If they get a bye and that's their first playoff game against the Ravens or the Chiefs, no dice. No, I think the Patriots, I was told by a researcher before the show, the Patriots have lost 10 playoff games, and 9 of them have been against teams that they played in the regular season and couldn't avenge. And so if they see the Chiefs or the Ravens, no dice. Tennessee, if somehow they're in the 3 seed and play them in the 6 seed, no dice. Pittsburgh, maybe. But they'll get beat up so bad by T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree, it'll be pointless to play the next week.
Just remember in the Chiefs game, they had 14 points called back that would have changed that game. Now, it's not an excuse why they lost, but they had the fumble that was blown dead that was going back, and N'Keal Harry scored, and they took that off the board. But the problem is they had 1st and goal to 3 and couldn't score. Like, that's the problem, right, is that they used to overcome mistakes or refereeing errors. They can't do that anymore because they don't have an offense that's really in rhythm at all.
And no one can call Matt Castle or Ted Johnson some sort of haters.
Right.
These are guys, again, there's guys like me that everybody thinks is a Patriots hater because I am. But these are guys that I think they were on a Patriots post-game show when they made these comments. They're in the tank for the Patriots. They've seen all the history that you articulated and are saying, oh, this feels different.
Yeah, but they're projecting. They're not haters. It's just they're caught up in what they're exposed to and what they would do with that exposure. Where Tom Brady has already come out on record saying, I've been through this fire before. There is record of him struggling. Last year, they scored 10 points and 24 points against Pittsburgh and Buffalo 2 of the last 3 games. Those articles were written last year. They won the damn Super Bowl. This year, we're talking about the same thing. Last year, he lost a worse game. He won a worse game against Buffalo in terms of his performance. He won the Super Bowl. It happened in 16. It happened in 14. All I'm saying, if you dive into the details, you can see what has occurred, but you don't know emotionally what he has in resolve to change this. So going forward, someone has to step up. Next man up.
LeVar Arrington and Jeff Schwartz are back. Time now for Darnell's question of the day. All right, take it away, homeboy.
Yes, sir. Let's talk about the former MAC legend and our current co-worker, Mr. Urban Meyer. There are reports out there that the Cowboys spoke with Meyer about the potential coaching vacancy if they decide to move on from Jason Garrett. Adding to the intrigue, Fox News anchor Britt Hume tweeted that he spoke with Meyer at the Redskins game on Sunday. Hume says Meyer told him he was in town for the White House Christmas party, and when asked if he might consider the vacant Redskins job, he said, quote, "I think I'm done coaching." So, I want to ask you guys, do you actually think he's done coaching?
I think, just like Urban Meyer said, that he thinks he's done coaching. That doesn't mean he's done coaching. If Jerry Jones puts together the right package, the right offer, I think he's not done coaching, and I think that being at the Redskins game could be part of that negotiation process.
Yeah, look, word is bond. Like, that's in your era, Jason. That's back in the days. Word is gone now. In the world of verbal decommits and guys just going out there and saying, I changed my mind. All this is part of the negotiation process to either A, it's going to take you more to get me from the position of I don't think I'm coaching again, or B, I'm not coaching it again, and every time there's an opportunity, someone's gonna say, but what about this one? This one is the one, you know? So living in this era today, Too Short, I remember he said it was his last rap album 20 years ago. He's still making albums. I mean, you know, that's just the way this game goes right now. It's almost this, like, outwardly
I think I'm done gambling.
Same here.
I'm
done gambling too. Place an NBA wager later. I think he's not going to coach in the NFL. I think that the Cowboys, there's too much power of Jerry Jones over that organization. I think that if Jerry says to him, all back off, how do you believe that Jerry's going to do that? Remember,
put it in writing.
Yeah, but
Build it into the contract.
how does that work? Like, you're only allowed to see me and talk to me twice a week. Like, you can't. He's the GM still, technically, right? So he's part of player. He's going to go to his office and be like, "Hey, do you want to keep this guy or not keep this guy?" That to me is not appealing for him. I think there's two college jobs. They've been the same two college jobs the whole time. USC here in town, which Clay Helton's here one more year. And if Notre Dame ever opened up, I think he'd consider Notre Dame. Now, Brian Kelly keeps winning there, so maybe not an option for him to go to Notre Dame. I think those two jobs are super appealing to him in the college side. I just don't see him as a pro coach and not having all the control they had in college.
I'm on your page on this, but in a different way. I think he is done coaching, but he's only done coaching for now. But I don't look at it from the perspective of if Dallas puts together the right package, or if Notre Dame comes to the table, or one of these dream schools comes and wants him to coach. I think it's more or less just based upon the feeling I've gotten when I've spoken with him in a short amount of time I've gotten to know him. I think it's more so he just needs some time. It's almost like a John Gruden deal. He won't become irrelevant to coaching and ignorant to coaching and all of the constant evolution of it because he's doing the college show. He's still very much involved with how the game is shaping and turning out. I think he's one of those guys where he's going to give his body a little bit of time to heal up and recover, have some reflections and insight. Oh, I would have did things differently that way. I would have put this in that place. And then maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe less, maybe more. I think he decides he wants to come back. But I don't think right now, I think he really means it when he says it right now.
I don't, because, look, being on a team that has struggled before, the most popular guy is the backup quarterback. And he sits there because he has all the hopes, and he doesn't have to go out there and materialize anything. And in that moment, before he steps on the field, you're the most respected. Everyone's counting on you. And I think that's where Urban Meyer is fitting comfortably. We saw it happen with a few coaches. We still sit there and look at Cowher and say, when's he coming out the booth?
Never came out.
Yeah. And then there is a situation with a John Gruden. It takes a decade or so, but then he finally does for a $100 million package.
Correct.
So the thing about this is, you can't legislate and instruct behavior. Jerry Jones can't say, look, I'm going to talk to you 2 times a week, and I'm only going to say X. Like, I have a child, baby mama.
Yeah.
You ever been through that situation?
Yeah, yes.
There's nothing that's going to tell you how you guys are going to interact no matter what you put on paper. So I don't think Jerry Jones could convince himself.
I was like, remember, Gruden went to a place that gave him almost full control. I mean, I think that's a big part of this Urban Meyer decision is that
good point.
How much are you going to give up to coaching the NFL as far as control of personnel? Because we've seen so many examples in the NFL of a head coach that's too involved in the personnel side and not working out. There's too much to do, and trying to do both jobs does not work very well. He has done both jobs in college. He's recruited, he's built a program, and he coaches the program. So I think that if there's a right NFL job where they're hands off, the owner says, do what you want, there's really no GM, just kind of a figurehead, and he gets to do whatever he wants, he'll take that job. I just don't see a lot of NFL jobs like that right now.
I think that, and I could be crazy. That's the difference between me and you two guys. When I say something crazy, I'm aware.
Okay.
I'm about to say something.
All right.
So this may be crazy. I think Jerry Jones could fire himself at the end of this year as the general manager. I really believe that he could look at this team and say, man, I made a fool of myself. I thought I put together a Super Bowl team. Here we are, 8-8, snuck into the playoffs, got beat. You know what? I am the problem. I'm going to dial back. I'm going to fire myself as general manager. Urban Meyer will hire some guy that you agree with or puppet master that you can control and you can be GM. I think Jerry's capable of that, and I know that's crazy.
He's still the GM.
No, he's the head.
I fired myself as the GM.
Yeah.
All right.
So he's not gonna
this is what I want done, and he can still do that to the GM.
I'm saying he would be
I don't know if knowing you're
control.
crazy is worse than not knowing you're crazy.
If that office that Jerry has is still on the top floor in the corner, whoever else is in that building knows that everything has to run through him still. So you change the title on the door, but you don't change the power in that room. That's the difference.
Fire yourself as the owner, and then now we talk.
Whitlock and Wiley, joined once again by James Harrison and LeVar Arrington. Time for the most fearless discussion in sports. Let's talk Antonio Brown, who used to spend his weekends catching footballs. Now he spends them on social media. On Saturday, he posted a video of him talking to police, dealing with some drama related to his ex-girlfriend, with whom he has 3 kids, resolving a kid's clothing exchange. Just a day prior, Bleacher Report posted a story saying that there are at least 20 teams interested in signing AB. The report also says that the only potential playoff team that wouldn't be interested in Brown are the Patriots. All right, the question is, you believe 20 teams are interested in AB?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Really? Yes. There's a Hall of Famer at the crib right now. A Hall of Famer that is still in his prime that could go get it. And that's AB right there. Just do the simple math. If 25 teams were interested in 3 years removed Colin Kaepernick, you don't think that 20 teams are interested in AB? And I think there is a parallel between the two. Those teams weren't there to see if Colin Kaepernick could still throw or run. They didn't even test him for that. They weren't going to test him for that probably. They just wanted to see his professionalism. Where's his mindset? Where's his mentality? And I think that's what AB, interested is still a long process from turning that into actually being signed. So interested? Oh yeah, 20 of them gonna kick the tire to see where his mind's at.
Couldn't agree more. I think it is, like you said, at least 20 teams that would be interested in him for the simple fact of his skill level. That is something that you can use going into the playoffs. And looking at it, what are they going to lose if they do sign him? You get playoff money. It's not even they don't even have to pay him a week. So that will give you that time to see where his mind is at. See if he can come back and
There's no mystery about where his mind's at. It's in the gutter.
It's in the gut. Come on now, in the gutter. I think, to be honest with you, I think he needs to sit down and have a talk with someone who has a clinical, who is educated in dealing with someone who is in the position that he's in and going through the things that he's going through and his thought process of what because 1 second you see him, he's talking okay, and then the next second he goes on a rant and then he apologizes for it. I mean, it's a lot of up and down that's going on there.
I think it's interesting. I don't think it's 20 teams that are interested in him, but I do believe, like buying a home, it only takes one person of interest to be able to move that home. Propaganda, it's amazing that we're dealing with some propaganda right here, because I believe social media has really changed the way that the way we engage information. It's changed it forever. Propaganda used to be controlled by the media itself, by the teams. This could be being controlled by AB and his camp to put out there 20 teams are interested in him, and we'll, maybe we won't know. But I will say this. And looking at the teams that may be interested, there is always one coach. There's always one organization. There's always one owner. There's always one GM that sits there and says, you know what? We have exactly what AB needs here. We can provide him the support he needs. Exactly. We can get him back on track. We can be credited with the saving and re-resurrecting of his career. There's always that one person out there that has the ability to make decisions that makes those decisions. So I don't say 20.
I said, he still has the skills. Look at Josh Gordon. They give Josh Gordon time after time after time.
There's not as much risk with Josh Gordon.
Why is there not risk?
AB is a threat to almost anybody close to him. This dude is all the classic signs of being a danger to himself and any woman he engages with. And so in 2019, soon to be 2020, there's not 20 idiot coaches and owners around the NFL. It's like, yeah, bring him over here. And when he explodes or implodes or does damage to another human being, we want that on our franchise.
You don't think that it's enough teams out there that want to win a Super Bowl?
Dallas brought Greg Hardy in.
Yeah.
And that could be that one place he ends up.
Greg Hardy.
No. I got the Greg Hardy deal. Greg Hardy went through the criminal justice system, paid his whatever debt to society that the criminal justice system said so. And then they brought him in. And AB, again, Greg Hardy didn't have videos out where he's F the police and blah, blah. All ongoing
Greg
things
Hardy's,
going on. No, I get the guy.
That's pretty bad.
I get the Greg Hardy deal. I get it. And I'm somebody that defended the Cowboys for bringing Greg Hardy in. When you go through the system, pay your debt to society, you should have a right to work.
They're still working
and whatever.
If this allegation is actually true or not. So how can you?
And you know what's interesting about the NFL? Let's all be real about the NFL in terms how the end justifies the mean, because we're all looking for talent. There are not ABs walking around in many locker rooms, if any locker room. So you got to respect that. And the NFL, from day one, discriminates. The NFL will look at you from college to the pro level in the draft process and say, you too short, you too tall, you too fat, you too slow. And guess what? They're going to look at AB. They're going to kick them tires and say, you too crazy. But they're going to go through the process, and they're going to be interested to see what that answer is. And to be real, he deserves that, because right now he is not guilty of any of these accusations. And right now, that talent says, if we can bottle up this 10-year career of AB where there was contained headaches for 8-9 of those years, can we bottle this up for one more playoff run or year?
Hold on. I think they've got enough information on AB to know this can't be contained. This is Chernobyl. And again, to take Greg Hardy and all the heat that the Cowboys took, and any misspoken word inside that locker room was a news story about Greg Hardy, if he said anything. AB's putting out videos on a weekly basis. He's got tweets out right now talking about no more white women. He is way too polarizing, way too racially divisive, way too off the charts on women. And that issue for a team right there, for 20 teams. And look, I went and read Mike Freeman's story, and it's based off of, the headline isn't justified by what's written. 20 teams aren't interested. The dude talked to, allegedly, 3 unnamed general managers who speculated that 20 teams were interested. He didn't talk to 20 teams and had people say, oh, God, yeah, we're interested. 3 people, allegedly, 3 unnamed people, speculated 20 teams. I just don't think the NFL is this stupid. Maybe there is some dumb coach, some dumb owner out there, but right now with AB...
So what you're saying is you don't even see him ever getting a chance to get back in?
Not if this dude will not get off social media putting out all of this.
So how are they
material.
going to know that's going to happen, or he's willing to
needs
do
to do it
that if they don't
first.
kick the tires?
Bingo. Pragmatically, this is how it occurs. You actually show interest. You lick your finger. You read the winds. You take the pulse of the response. Then you get closer. We're interested in signing them. Once again, you check the pulse of the fan base and the public's response, and you take that in consideration, kind of like what was happening in Baltimore with Kaepernick at that time. This is a process. You are so far from being signed when a team says we're interested in you. For anyone who's ever been recruited, you know what that means. So I think right now they just sent that blind letter to you. Oh, we're interested in you, Jason Whitlock. We're interested in you, AB. Fill out this questionnaire, and we'll be at your home, or you come to our facilities.
I think he has, the things that he has done, his behavior are symptoms. It's not just behavior, they're symptoms, all right? They're already doing that punch list. They're already doing that checklist of what they think of AB. And while I'll say that he has a great body of work as a player, his actions on social media have created a narrative. They've created a storyline.
Think about
that
this.
They're following.
When he went to New England, you heard nothing about him on social media until after he had ended up getting released.
It's a matter of time.
And the incident came out where he had actually responded in text to one of the people, okay? So the thing that got him released from there was the accusations and then his response in the text from the other lady that was at his house. They were still willing to deal with him right then and there. What they have to do now is, like he said, check the temperature, see where he's at. Right now, he's not putting out good things.
Just go look on social media.
Right, you're hearing. It's getting on fire. It's getting on fire.
And it's like y'all are like saying the NFL is going to go, well, once we sign you, will you stop? No, they want him to stop before they ever sign him.
NFL asked Kaepernick the same question. Hey, if we sign you,
and then they made a workout for him.
Kneeling.
They didn't make a workout.
They still gave him a workout.
It don't matter. The NFL made a workout for him.
I'm just saying, these
First time
beats are
ever.
in alignment with things that have occurred.
All right, we got to go. Before we go, I'd like to revisit NBA star Russell Westbrook's confrontation with Utah Jazz fan Shane Kiesel in March. The fallout from the confrontation has led Kiesel to file a $100 million defamation lawsuit against the Jazz and Westbrook. If you don't remember, Westbrook was captured on video threatening to F up Kiesel and his girlfriend. After the game, Westbrook justified his threat by saying Kiesel had shouted, "Get on your knees like you're used to." Westbrook told the media that Kiesel's taunt was completely disrespectful and racial. Kiesel claimed he shouted, "Ice those knees." Given the racial stereotypes about the state of Utah and the Jazz operating in a league almost exclusively reliant on black players, the Jazz predictably overreacted and banned Kiesel for life. Given the NBA's level of racial wokeness and its dependence on almost exclusively black players, the NBA fined Westbrook .0007 of his $35 million salary. The league fined Westbrook $25,000, which is the equivalent of $70 to a man earning $100,000 a year. Two people shouted ignorance toward each other. The multimillionaire elite was stripped of the pocket change found in his living room couch, and the fan was banned for life and smeared as a bigot. Kiesel claims that because of the incident, he has lost work and his family has been harassed. That is modern-day American internet justice backed by multimillionaire former NBA players on TV saying, "Damn right, yeah, these fans can't be shouting at us." The internet and its rigged social media apps will, of course, hate my take on this whole episode. Whitlock is defending a Trump supporter. He criticizing a black athlete. No, I'm being consistent. I don't like unfair justice, and I despise elites who use their power to crush the people they deem beneath them. Westbrook and Kiesel are two idiots who shouted dumb things at each other. Westbrook, particularly inside an NBA arena, is far more powerful than Kiesel. Westbrook racialized Kiesel's taunts to destroy Kiesel. That's unfair. It's weak. It's emotional. ESPN wrote in its story about Kiesel's lawsuit that Westbrook's emotions caused him to threaten Kiesel and his girlfriend. I don't respect men ruled by their emotions. That makes me an oddball in modern America. We're all supposed to be getting in touch with our emotions and loosing them. That's allegedly healthy. No, it's not. It's foolish and undisciplined. It makes you prone to rash, unplanned actions in times of stress. It makes you a checkers player in life's game of chess. That explains why the mainstream media keeps deifying emotional athletes like Odell Beckham Jr. and Colin Kaepernick as the new gold standard for black men. They want us playing checkers in a game of chess. Jeff Schwartz is back. Let's return to the NFL, where the Browns' disastrous season continues with reports that Odell Beckham Jr. has been telling opposing teams and players, "Come get me." Now Mike Silver of the NFL Network reports that during their loss on Sunday to the Cardinals, Odell's buddy Jarvis Landry and multiple other Browns were telling the Arizona sideline, "Come get me," as well. All right, is the Browns shouting, "Come get me," something or nothing?
Nothing, just trolling. I think it was authentic maybe in the story of Odell Beckham, but being in that locker room before we have been, you know, when you know that the media is looking for something, you usually give them what they want. And I think they did this in jest. They should have been more focused on winning a game that they needed to win, but at the same time, I just think this is just guys in the locker room just having some fun. Because if they really were serious about this, one, you don't even say it. Call your agent up silently. He calls up John Dorsey. Let's make this happen, Captain. But if you're not doing that, I just think you're kind of just trolling and knowing that people are going to run with it.
Oh, they all want out. Like, they thought this year was going to be a magical year. They're on the cover of magazines. They're going to make the playoffs. Everyone's going to be great. It's been an utter disaster. Odell's not getting the ball. He's hurt. Landry's not getting the ball. He's obviously not hurt. Baker Mayfield has regressed. They're not prepared for games. Their penalty, all the stuff that they want out of Cleveland. They want out of Cleveland.
So it's
something or nothing.
Oh, it's something for sure.
Really?
Oh, yeah. But the problem is, John Dorsey's not going to make any moves, in my opinion. Because if he trades Odell and he gets rid of Kitchens, all this stuff, he's now accepting blame for the mess. I think everyone just stays next year and the same thing happens again.
I think it's something because I think it's a group of players, whether joking or not, they're getting their butts kicked by the Cardinals. And basically, when you start shouting, "Come get me," it's just like, it ain't my fault. It's these other guys. It's Freddie Kitchens. It's Baker Mayfield. It's John Dorsey. It's this organization. Come get me. Man, I'd love to play in Arizona. You know how cold it is in Cleveland?
Yeah.
And I saw this happen with the Chiefs. This is where I made the biggest fool of myself. Chester McLaughlin, when he was playing with the Raiders, told the Chiefs sideline the year before, "Hey, come get me. I want to play for the Chiefs." Chiefs signed him the next year. And I wrote these stories all off. They got Chester McLaughlin. They going 16-0. This is a Super Bowl team. Marty Schottenheimer got fired. They were 7-9.
Right.
One of the worst seasons ever. Chester McLaughlin laid down every chance he could get. And these players that shout, "Come get me," are the type, they're quitters. And there's all different kinds of ways to quit in the NFL or in football and blame everybody else. So I think it is something. I think it says something about the character of this team.
Well, I mean, look, I don't know your success level in the league, but I've been on a 4-win team, a 5-win team, some sorry teams. And guess what? Like, you always think of the next play, next game, next season, just because you know that you're 1 in a million, and you start to believe in the osmosis effect of you're 1 in a million. We're going to change this stuff around. I never got to a serious place where I wanted to go somewhere else. The only thing I've seen is really in jest. I had guys on the team saying, "Man, if we didn't play in Buffalo, man, you know what I mean, commercials and opportunities we would have." And then you would play against another team that had better weather, better scene, and you were just like, "Yo, come get your boy." But in all seriousness, I don't think that since they didn't go through the proper channels that they were serious about it.
But you would say that stuff in the locker room. I mean, I was on a 2-win team. Like, we joke about that stuff all the time. You don't say this where people can actually hear you say this. And I think your point.
Competing.
I think your point's exactly right. I think that they're trying to not put blame on themselves.
Yeah.
Not my fault, guys. Just get me out of here, and things will be drastically different. Look, Odell wanted to be traded from the Giants. It's not turned out well. If he goes somewhere else, are you sure that's going to turn out well as well? I mean, you might as well try to stay in Cleveland. Hope you get a coach that knows how to do it. They have pieces there to be very good. They need a coach who knows what he's doing.
Well, Minka Fitzpatrick and guys like that, when they really want to go somewhere, it just happens, and you know they're disgruntled, and he never was walking on the field every week, come get me. He just like, I know who to talk to make this happen.
He's a true competitor.
Yeah.
And I'm questioning the competitiveness of guys in the middle of a competition, a physical, violent competition.
Yeah.
They're screaming, come get me. That says something about them. That says something about the culture in Cleveland. That says that there's a bunch of people in that locker room pointing fingers, and none of them are pointing them at themselves. Uncle Jimmy's here to help us talk about our approval ratings for Drew Brees.
And you know
Who that?
All right, before we
Hey.
started, who's your big dummy of the day?
you.
Who that?
Hey, man.
Boom.
How you gonna set up and say that Isaiah Thomas ain't a member of the top 10? I thought that was supposed to be your buddy.
He is.
No Christmas card for you.
No gift for you.
No soup for you.
Let's return to Drew Brees,
Not
who
top.
passed Peyton Manning on the all-time list for career touchdown passes last night. At age 40, Brees doesn't appear to be slowing down, and the 42-year-old Tom Brady says he wants to play until he's 45. Marcellus, who retires first, Brees or Brady?
I think Drew Brees, by circumstances, by lifestyle, by the kids, just being all in. I think Drew Brees, where he is right now, record-setting performances at 40. When that starts to decline, I think he'll go where Brady right now is riding that roller coaster like, I'm not jumping off, so I say it's Drew.
Oh, Brady's going to retire after this season. He's done.
Breaking
And
news.
Yeah. And
Breaking news.
Drew
Yeah.
Brees is still setting records. He'll
Yeah.
continue to play.
Yeah.
I got Brady retiring first. Giselle has
winning
finally won.
He's still winning Super Bowls in them struggles you talking about.
All right. All right, Uncle Jimmy, you have any thoughts on Drew Brees? I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback all time, or he's borderline at best. Your thoughts on Drew Brees?
Hey, man, how many times I'm gonna tell y'all? I was born at night. I just wasn't born last night.
Yeah?
Look at me. This is a clear and unadulterated case of cultural appreciation.
What?
Appropriation or
Listen, shut your lips. Where would Joe Montana be without Jerry Rice?
That's a good.
Okay, whoa. Where would Drew Brees be without Michael Thomas?
Super Bowl winner?
See here? No. Hold up, listen to me. See, you two wokey woke peoples. See, y'all part of the mainstream problem asking these bias-ass questions like this. Talking about, do you think Drew Brees is a top 10 quarterback? Look at me, I told you, Uncle Jimmy too old of a cat to be clawed by a kitten. Look at me, I'm too old to fall for the banana in the tailpipe trick. Okay? I can't be hoodwinked. You know, so just lose all that nonsense, okay? Right now, bottom line, Michael Thomas is the reason that Drew Brees doing what he doing.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
See, y'all can talk about what y'all saw last night. Yeah, the boy went 29 for 30, but all I just saw Drew Brees Elvising it up last night.
Elvising it up.
Oh, don't do it.
Elvising it up. I know what the hell I said. 1957, Elvis had a song called Tutti Frutti.
Yeah.
Now, we know damn good and well Elvis didn't write that song. That song was written by Little Richard. In 1957, it wasn't no black man in America more tutti frutti than Little Richard. But who get the credit? Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley.
I got another one for you.
Yeah.
Robert Parrish. What they call him? The Chief. Carried the Celtics to how many championships? But if you talk about the Boston Celtics, say it with me now. What name you say?
Larry
Bird. Got one more for you. This is a little sports talk show. I got one for you.
That one counts.
I got one for you. Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, and Dante Wildman.
Deontay Wilder.
Okay, but if you say that, what's the first thing somebody gonna say? Rocky Marciano. Eddie Murphy said it best in his documentary, Coming to America. Remember what he said? There they go. Every time somebody talk about boxing, some white person gotta drag Rocky Marciano out his ass. And you sound as crazy as the man sitting in the barbershop to go, but he beat Joe Louis' ass. Joe Louis was 157 years old. How old you think Drew Brees is right now? 139. Dummy. Hell, I can't tell you everything.
All right, listen.
The game's sold, not told.
I got Drew Brees surprisingly up in my approval rating, up a point to
Surprisingly?
94. Oh, after I said he's not a top 10 quarterback.
Oh, okay, yeah,
25 job performance.
He's a
I
G.
knocked him down 1 point in all-time greatness. He's playing in the easy era. 94, GOAT status.
Oh, wow, this gets the knock on the all-time status when he sets the record last night. Unreal. I'm just one more higher than you, like America. GOAT.